Vibes great in Houston. D'Amico Ryan, CJ Stroud. They have a lot of people believing the vibes are better than they've been in a long time. And Nick Caserio, who's been here for a few years and been here at the lowest point, he met with the media for his bye week availability. Let's get into what Nick Caserio had to say. Let's talk about the 1-year mark of the departure of his once close friend, Jack Easterby. And let's talk about Nick Caserio as a general manager now. And how he stacks up. Let's go inside the locker room.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what
3-3. Never felt so good. Landry Locker here, number one source for Texans daily digital content. It is the locker room. Appreciate you for coming through. Please subscribe, like, right along. We're going to hear from Nick Caserio in a second, who has been through the mud around here, and he's been criticized. I've been very critical of Nick Caserio, but the one thing that we do know in the NFL, and the two things that ease all things, the two most important things are the head coach and the quarterback. No matter how you find it. Doesn't matter if it would have been your first choice without assistance. Doesn't matter if you would have wanted the other quarterback. You can't take away finding the right coach and the right quarterback in any circumstance. Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick. Aaron Rodgers fell to the 1st round. Joe Montana was a late pick. So regardless of what Nick wanted, what Minnie wanted, whatever, they appear to have found their quarterback, and that eases a lot of the pressure. And they appear to have found the right coach, and that eases a lot of the pressure as well. So Nick Caserio, where he is right now as compared to where he was early on in his tenure, it's night and day. And the biggest fear when Caserio arrived, and I think it was a valid-ish fear, was that he was going to try to bring that Patriot way, and it was going to be his way or the highway. And we've seen it around the league. We've seen guys leave New England and they try to bring the Patriot way. Now, I never really bought into Nick Caserio just based on his actual actions following the Patriot way. I did think there was a little bit over romanticism of culture. And I think as long as the POS, Jack Easterby, who, by the way, 1 year ago this week, Jack Easterby was fired. The worst thing that I've ever witnessed from a football person perspective and just an overall person. I mean, I'll just be honest. Just there's not anyone in that building that has anything really nice to say about him. Maybe there is, but I haven't really seen him. But Jack Easterby is gone, and I think there was some guilt by association with Caserio. I think maybe there was a little bit of maybe kind of feeling it out. There's no way Nick Caserio saw what Easterby was doing and what the vibe was with him and thought that it was something that was going to be beneficial to him. Now, did he think maybe he could adjust the role and keep Jack around? Maybe, but I don't think you can completely measure from the outside just how much of a mess he was in many layers of the organization. And that's not me making stuff up. That's just a fact. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the Texans, where they are right now, without the POS in that 1 year time frame. And I also don't think D'Amico Ryans comes here as head coach if the POS is there. And I do wonder, like CJ Stroud, I never bought into he wouldn't have wanted to play here. But if Easterby was here, I don't even know that he wants to be here. But who knows? But the biggest fear when Caserio arrived was that the Patriot way was going to be adapted. And my thing with this is whether he got nudged a little bit, and we had Cal McNair and Hannah McNair in studio, and they said they were going to be more involved in the coaching search. Like, even if D'Amico Ryans, without that assistance, wouldn't have been Nick Caserio's choice, I think he got there. And I think if you listen to him talk about D'Amico, I think he's glad he did. And I think you deserve a lot of credit for being Nick Caserio and being willing to adapt, because it's not comfortable. You do something for over 20 years a certain way, and you just keep doing it. And there's not going to be consequences for a lot of the guys that were in New England who refuse to adapt. There's not a lot of consequences. Those guys are lingering around the league. Bill O'Brien's the offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots. And Bill Belichick just looked past anything that could have been looked up, just basic advanced data, never in the top 10 in scoring offense, never in the top 10 in DVOA, never in the top, even half in DVOA, never in the top 10 in yardage with the Texans. But because he called plays for Tom Brady and Randy Moss, they brought in Bill O'Brien. So you can get stuck in your ways and you can get lost with the Patriot Way. And Nick Caserio seems to, at least regardless of the why, currently he is riding and dying with the way that things are going right now. And it's very, very easy to do that when you have the quarterback and the coach. I would say the best things that Nick Caserio have done at this point, the Deshaun Watson trade. And I think the Deshaun Watson trade was a good thing, even before we seen what's happened recently with Deshaun Watson and what's happened with CJ Stroud. Getting the compensation that they got, I think it could have been even more had Cleveland not offered the full contract, but being patient and getting what he got for Deshaun Watson, I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. And furthermore, and I've been critical of this, I don't even know that the draft pick of Kenyon Green, et cetera, really matters as much at this point, because Deshaun Watson's been a disaster. I don't even know, like, if you told the Cleveland Browns right now, you still have to give Deshaun Watson that contract, but in exchange for him, and they get a time machine and they get to go back to when they made the trade for the Texans, it'll be the Brock Osweiler trade where the Texans give you a second-round pick. I don't know that the Browns do it. With all the headaches going on, with the fact that there appears to be a decline in play, the mishandling and the PR stuff, I don't know that they do it. I really don't. I would lean no. So that kind of lowers the pressure of hitting on picks. And when we sit there and we say, well, Kenyon Green was the first pick in the Deshaun trade, sports are a fluid process, and the way this is played out, I don't even know that it's that much important. So the best thing was easily the Deshaun Watson trade. You could say the D'Amico hire, but I do think he got some assistance there. But if you want to credit him for being down with that and coming to that conclusion and being okay with it, I'd give him credit for that. I'd give him credit for this draft. Again, might have had less of a role, might have been more of an impact from D'Amico and his staff, but he did it. So I'll give him credit for that. Worst things, I think just the association with Easterby is the worst. I think some of the churning at the bottom of the roster was suspect. I think there was times where guys hung around as culture guys, and it was kind of just not much substance there. And I thought it got a little blowhardy. Some people would say the hiring of David Culley and Lovie Smith, I've never criticized him for that. I was fine with getting through the mud and having those two coaches get you to where you got right now. You're going to have $75 million dead cap last year. You didn't have draft compensation. I had no issue with that. It was very clear that that was just a low-level rebuild. Some people might hold that against him. I think that's tacky and dumb. I look at it like a San Francisco situation, and some will say, well, that was a different GM. Well, the GM that got fired between those two coaches, all that front office had something to do with screwing stuff up. I think Nick Caserio was brought here to clean up a mess that was not completely his own doing. Now, he was brought here by a guy who was one of the biggest culprits of having something to do with that. So it's potato, tomato, what the hell ever. But I would say those are the worst things. I don't hold the head coach stuff against him. The current approval rating of Nick Caserio, I would say it's solid. He seems very happy with where things are, and I think most people should. And I think it's come a long way in a year, but it goes back to the two most important things: quarterback, coach. You appear to have that. Stress gets reduced, and Caserio's talked about it before. It might not be familiar. It might be different, but that's something that he deserves a lot of credit for being involved in. Let's hear from the man himself, Nick Caserio. Be sure to subscribe, like, right along. It is a Locker Room, #1 source for Texans digital content. This was John McClain, who normally joins my show on Tuesdays at 11. He came in at noon because he wanted to ask a question to Nick Caserio about the evaluation process of players.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think everybody has an important job within the organization. I think the goal and the hope is for whatever your role is, you just perform it to the best of your ability and just try to be the best version of yourself on a day-to-day basis. Nothing's perfect. We just try to make, hopefully, good, sound decisions. There's a lot of thought process that goes into it. D'Amico and I talk on a fairly regular basis about the team, about, where we are currently, maybe some things moving forward. So, I think there's a lot of people in the organization that, deserve a lot of credit for the job that they do and supporting the players and helping the players. And the players, ultimately, it's a players' game. We can only do so much once the players are on the field, including the coaches. I mean, it's up to the players and the trust and the belief that they have in one another around them. So we have a lot of players, a lot of pride with the right mindset that care a lot about football, that have been in winning programs. So they deserve, the credit for the wins. I'll take the criticism for anything that goes wrong around here. So I guess that'll be my responsibility.
With CJ specifically,
Go ahead, Christy.
what have you seen as maybe the biggest? I'm sure
We'll hear him on CJ after that awesome joke.
I'd say his work ethic, his confidence, his demeanor, his belief. I think D'Amico's talked about this quite a bit, in terms of your belief in yourself, belief in your teammates, belief in what you're capable of doing. I think the more you just focus on what you can control, which is your mindset and your performance on a day-to-day basis, and any player, specifically when you're a younger player, are you learning on a day-to-day basis? There's always something new that's going to take place or happen the first time that you go through it. Can you not make the same mistake over and over, and can you build on some of the things that you've learned? I think the big thing with him is just his confidence, his belief in himself, his competitiveness, his pride, and the respect that he's earned with his performance from his teammates. You're not named a captain. Being a captain is not a popularity contest, but when you're a captain as a rookie, which both he and Will are, it's really more about what you do and how you handle your job necessarily than what you say. But he cares a lot. He has a lot of pride, and he wants to go out there and perform well and do the best thing and the right thing for the team. And he's shown the propensity to do that, I think, from May to August, you saw growth and development, and then we've seen growth and development from Baltimore to New Orleans, or whoever we played last week. So there's still 11 more opportunities in front of us. So the challenges that we face next week against Carolina are going to be different than some of the challenges some of the other teams have faced. So can you learn each week? Do you understand the opponent? Do you understand what's being asked of you? And I'd say he's done a pretty exemplary job of that to this point.
Quarterback solves a lot of things, as does the head coach. That was Nick Caserio. A lot of praise of D'Amico Ryans in the press availability. I think the bottom line is this. He came into a situation that was a disaster. It was one of the most disastrous situations in the NFL. It was inevitable that you were going to go through the mud. Now, was it 100% smooth with him? Probably not. Is his mindset when he hired D'Amico Ryans, was that 100% something that he would have done when he first got here? Was it something that he wanted to do in the short term? Who knows? But it's about adjustments for an organization to function. There's a lot of egos. And, oh, by the way, you happen to get a quarterback that is off to a historic start, and you have the two most important things, head coach and quarterback. A lot of stuff changes. You go into the offseason trying to fill holes. You have that 5-year window with the rookie contract to try to get stuff done. And the people that were criticizing you the most, they charge it to the game, and they say, hey, this is a new time. This is a good time. This is a fun time, and we're all in it together. What do you think of Nick Caserio? What's his approval rating? Please subscribe, like, right along. I still think the two most important guys in the building are D'Amico and CJ Stroud. And I think Nick Caserio is adjusted just fine. Appreciate you for coming through. This has been the Locker Room, #1 source for Texans daily digital content. Subscribe, like, right along. We're all in it together.
You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Local